All right, everybody, let's jump back in and do an update on Bitcoin and the markets. It is June 2nd. Let's take a look at the economic calendar first to see what we have as far as news events for this week. We do see today at 10 a.m., we do have the ISM PMI. Tomorrow, we are going to have JOLTS. Wednesday, another ISM for services. And on Friday, we have the non-farm payroll and unemployment rates. So we do have a bit of some potential volatility coming for news events this week. So be on the lookout. Always keep these days and times in mind around your trading. So let's go back. And this update might be a little bit longer because I do want to go over a few macro points here, since we are starting a new monthly candle as well as a new weekly candle. Here on the monthly chart, we can see that we have obviously been in a uptrend here. Now, a little bit more local price action on the monthly chart. We can see that we did close this candle below these highs here. So that is a swing failure pattern on a monthly chart. Now, if this candle here, the one that we have just opened, continues to fall down, I am suspecting that we can revisit these lows or just create a range within this high and this low here. And that could go on for a while. Let's go to the weekly chart. And again, we see the same thing here, and we have a little bit more of a confirmation of that swing failure pattern. Take this high, we see that we did close below, and we also created a bearish candle that is also closed inside of this newly formed range. So again, that just tells me that we can revisit this low or just continue to range within this new range that we have put in. Going back to the monthly chart, let's just take a look at our ranges really quick to see where we have gone. We can see on the monthly, the previous high and low that we did hit the 0.5. We did not come back down to this golden pocket yet. This was the range of demand that I've been continually looking out for. I would still like to come a bit deeper into this demand range to continue higher at some point. That could take a while. Let's go down to the daily. And I do want to point out that the daily has some nice structure coming up as far as an uptrend. However, once we got here in this demand range, structure was not the best. I don't really care for this structure that we had in here. It's not putting in clean structure. However, I would note that this low here would be the daily break of structure that I would say this is kind of a line in the sand. We could come down here and SFP this low and then continue higher. However, we start really breaking some strong bearish candles below this. I definitely think that we're going to come revisit this, as well as come all the way back down to a bigger range demand here. So 1,689. This level here is what I'm going to be potentially looking out for to see whether or not this is really going to turn it more into a bearish trend. So let's go down to a 4 hour and let's follow our structure down here. We can see we had a 4 hour order block right here that we did find some support in, and through that order block, I am looking at 4 hour structure from the low and carrying it up to the high. And so now what I'm looking for is what are we going to do at this high or this low? These are the highs and lows I'm paying attention to, the more local highs and lows. So if we do break below this low, we're going to run into this demand here. We do have an order block right here that's already been tapped. However, we do have other blocks in this area on a lower time frame, so we still have some demand left down here. So again, if we were to just take this range and only look and focus on this here, turn the magnet on, this would be our range. And we can see we're at the golden pocket of this range where we once found support, and there is demand here. So it already, and this is just the current 4-hour candle, and we're only halfway through. We still have about 2 hours through this 4-hour candle, so it's not confirmed yet, but we can see that we did come all the way up and saw a rejection already. So there is a little bit of weakness here. So as we're in this demand, we need to have, for a bullish outcome, we need to have this demand hold. However, if we do have demand in the extreme discount section of this range, I wouldn't mind seeing this price have a nice wick down and then closing above these lows and then continuing on. So that's something I am looking for on the mid to higher time frames. Now, if we do find some bullish structure, regain the VWAP, then I do believe we'll start breaking structure and going back up. Let's take the paintbrush off. So that's something I'm looking for this week as we're playing within this range. And you can see here, I do have the order blocks mapped out. Let's put an alarm on this tiny little order block here. So we do have demand in the extreme discount section of this range, and we do have supply left in this extreme premium section of the range. So both of those are hot spots. This order block here and this order block here are going to be the bigger areas that I will be looking for a swing long. Everything in between in the middle of the range, I like to treat as scalps. Now this order block here is in the discount section of the range. So this order block could be a nice day trade. However, if it leaves this behind and doesn't take this demand, I'm going to probably still still consider this order block as just a scalp or intraday trade. So I'm not going to hold it to the moon. I will want to see this taken. So let's go down to the 30-minute, and you can see a little bit more structure here in what we're dealing with. Again, to get up to this supply, we're going to have to reclaim the VWAP, and we are struggling between these areas of demand and supply. So this week, sometime, what am I looking for? I would like to see price come into this demand, give us a break of structure on a lower time frame, and enter a short. Now, if price can come up here and like just a wick and then close the candle body below this high, this will be our SFP of the high of the range. So it's trade 1, trade 2. And the same goes for the bottom here. However, if we start to come down and build structure here and then break in this area, and you have the break of structure here, this is where I would want to long from. and I would want to hold this long to this high or above. However, what I would rather see, instead of us coming down with structure, I would want to really see a nice wick showing us that we are taking stops from this low and taking stops from these lows, all the while mitigating this demand. So it'd be a double SFP, wiping out the liquidity and hitting into this demand, which, if the bulls are going to guard their positions, they're going to defend this order block. So if we are able to defend this order block, all the while sweeping liquidity, that's going to give a lot of fire to the upside. So again, if we're able to SFP these lows, take this demand, I'm looking to hold till here. Probably take some TPs along the way, maybe VWAP, as well as at the supply, because if we don't hit the supply first and we hit this demand first, I want for it really to stay in a bullish trend. But if we see something like this structure here, I'm going to be taking profit, guarding my trade, and leaving some to run for hopes that it will bounce back bullish. And at that point, treat this trade as just a scalp short. Another great setup, again, just in the same way that we would want to see this liquidity taken here in the discount section of the range. There is a great probability, since we do have a poor low here, as well as a daily and a naked point of control, that we could come even down further with the wick, close above these lows, where you're taking out these lows, you're taking out these lows, mitigating this demand. And again, I would want to see structure break back bullish. And for the same idea as this, if we do hit this and mitigate this demand, I will want to hold it to here, here, and maybe run above this range. And we do have a daily as well as a monthly level here. Now, if we don't SFP these lows and we do just start to build structure, that's fine too. But I don't want to see structure coming in like really hot and heavy with these massive bearish candles, because in that case, you're really catching a knife. So if that happens, I'm going to have to let structure build and then break. A lot of the times when you have these big bearish candles kind of like that, I want to see a low put in, a high, and then we create a range, sweeping both sides a few times and then run up. That creates more conviction, and you see market makers sweeping both sides to build a larger position. And what does that tell you? If you're building a larger position, that's going to let a position run much longer. So again, we do have this monthly here. So these monthly levels are very, very strong. If we do see structure come down here nice, where we have just that nice curve, and you see all this creating, well, those are a lot of stop losses. And if we do end up breaking that structure here, we'll have a lot of stop losses to fuel us up higher. So those are the different scenarios and different kinds of structure that I'm going to be looking for to get into the trade, to confirm the trade, and to understand how long I'm going to hold that trade. So that is basically it for Bitcoin for this week and just for today locally. I will be updating my levels as soon as price and structure creates more levels. And I will update the interactive charts and post them in the Discord. But as I update this, you can use the link that was posted early in the morning to still access all of the updated levels as well. So if you have any questions, shoot me a message in Discord, post in the general sections, tag me, and I'll be glad to answer.